Welcome into Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports on a special 4th of July edition of today's show. Coming up, we have the latest Seattle Seahawks news and rumors, those regarding Baker Mayfield, Drew Lock, and the U.S. Open. We'll explain more on that in just a moment. Also, Pro Football Focus and ESPN have released their roster rankings. We'll tell you where the Seahawks ended up in just a second. But before we do, with today being July 4th, I wore my red and blue today. Had to honor the greatest country on the face of the earth. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And here's the deal. If you like today's video, then that means that you're happy about the U.S. dominating England back in 1776. So go ahead and do that. Like today's video. Show some love for how we started this country, and we continue to keep on rolling here on Seahawks Today. Happy 4th, America. So we continue Baker Mayfield watch here on the show as we are about 2 weeks in at this point, and there is a new development in regards to the watch of Baker Mayfield. I don't necessarily want to call it a sweepstakes, but Michael Balko, NFL Insider, is calling it that. Here is a tweet of his that came out yesterday morning. The Seahawks and the Browns are still in discussions regarding quarterback Baker Mayfield. A deal was close to done, but a new team has reportedly entered the Mayfield sweepstakes as well. Stay tuned. So, who is this team? There was never a follow-up on that. I don't know for sure who that team is. Now, speculation has been that it's the Detroit Lions, although they're spending a lot of money on Jared Goff, so I don't know about that one necessarily. But I have a theory on what this said team is. I think that there's probably not another team besides the Browns and the Panthers, like we've discussed the entire offseason when it comes to trading for Baker Mayfield. My idea here is that the Browns are trying to up the price a bit. They've seen that they can't get a whole lot for Baker Mayfield right now. So if they kind of create this rumor and throw it out there that someone else is interested, maybe Seattle will take on more of Mayfield's contract or give up more compensation or something of some sorts. That's what I lean towards of what this really is, of what this theory. I would think that there's not actually another team, but that the Browns are trying to get something more, something a little extra by pretending there is another team. And knowing how the Browns operate, would it really be a surprise? Would it really put it past you if the Browns actually made up something here? I don't think so. So, with that said, if the Browns are trying to get the Seahawks to take on more money, maybe all of Baker Mayfield's $18+ million, should the Seahawks pay all of that money in addition to whatever they'd have to give up to trade for Baker Mayfield? Should they have to pay all of it? Would you do that if you're the Seahawks? You be the GM. Let me know. Our pinned comment today, you're about to get an ad break. Take advantage of it. Let me know one way or the other. Y for yes, in for no. If Seattle should pay all of Baker Mayfield's contract. If that's what it takes to get a deal done, should they do it? Let me know. Y for yes, in for no, one way or the other. Let's go back over the timeline of Mayfield watch. Within the last 2 weeks, it started with an initial report from Josina Anderson that the Seahawks were looking to make a deal and that Mayfield and Seattle showed mutual interest. They were in that flirting stage. Then you go back to last Sunday, and the report was that they were near a trade agreement. And now with this yesterday, a mystery team involved in the Mayfield sweepstakes. What I will say is what adds up here is with this so-called mystery team being now involved, that makes sense why a deal had not been done in this 2-week stretch. That's the only logical reason I could see of there being this other team potentially pop up. At the end of the day, though, to me, I still think it's the Seahawks that he ends up with. It just makes too much sense for Seattle. They need a quarterback. They have the receivers. Mayfield looking for a fresh start. They're the only team that's even mentioned a possible contract extension for Mayfield as well. To me, I think that, you're playing this flirting game. You're trying to figure out who to give the rose to. But in the day, I would be very surprised if it's ultimately not the Seattle Seahawks that Baker Mayfield ends up playing for in 2022, but that remains to be seen at this point. Got a great deal that we're offering our viewers here on Seahawks Today. A T-shirt combo, 2 different colors, as you can see. The blue, the gray, and the best part about it, $20 off while supplies last. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirts to get yours now. It's pretty hot outside. You need something to cool down to break that sweat in and also wear out to some Mariner games or whatever it may be styling in this great Seahawks gear. Get yours today. $20 off. Chatsports.com/Seahawks shirts. That's chatsports.com/Seahawks shirts. Okay, this was probably the biggest surprise of the entire weekend. I was not expecting that I would be coming in on Monday talking about Drew Lock taking heat from the U.S. Open, the U.S. Tennis Open, that is, on Twitter. The U.S. Tennis Open isn't even going on right now. It's Wimbledon that's going on. The U.S. Tennis Open is not till later this year, but nonetheless, the U.S. Tennis Open was tweeting out some highlights, I guess ESPN was, and there was a Seahawks fan that said, tennis is not a sport, to which the U.S. Open responded, not a sport, says the person about to watch 17 games of Drew Lock at quarterback. And then it went on a whole Twitter exchange after that about the top quarterbacks of the NFL. As you can see, it was a back and forth. And the U.S. Open Twitter account pointed to a list by Chris Sims that had Drew Lock ranked 40th in the league. And then we see DK Metcalf get involved, and he says, all right, chill. We get the point, U.S. Open. And then Drew Lock had the last laugh. I enjoyed this very much. I'm sure you guys did too. Drew Lock, to begin the 4th of July today, says, happy 4th to all, but especially to the intern at the U.S. Open with the American flag, crying emoji, and heart 12s. That's good. I'm glad that Drew Lock could be a good sport about this. That was funny. It was at his expense, all of this. But Drew Lock, good work, man. He wins. He wins. Even taking all this heat and the internet going after Drew Lock all weekend long. At the end of the day, he gets the last laugh. I love it for Drew Lock. That's great. So, the question was put out there, so we'll ask you. True or false? Drew Lock is a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. What do you think? Is Chris Sims wrong by saying that Drew Lock is the 40th best quarterback in the league? Let me know. What is correct on this statement? Is it true or is it false that Drew Lock is the top 32 quarterback in this league? Type T for true, type F for false. Let me know one way or the other. All right, last thing before we go. ESPN and Pro Football Focus work together on ranking all of the rosters in the NFL, and they ranked the Seahawks roster 29th in the league entering 2022. Let's break this down piece by piece. The strength for the Seahawks that they pointed to was the wide receiver position, and I think that's obvious, right? When you look at a team that's got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett as your number 1 and number 2 receivers, that's about as good as any combination that you're going to see in the NFL. And here's what Ben Lindsay had to say from ESPN and Pro Football Focus about this. Life isn't going to be as good for DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in 2022 without Russell Wilson. No quarterback has graded higher on throws 20-plus yards downfield than Wilson over the past 5 seasons, which has played to Metcalf and Lock's strengths. However, that wide receiver duo still looks to be the strongest point in the Seahawks roster entering this season. Both are top 20 receivers in Pro Football Focus's wins above replacement since 2019. We'll get to the rest of the roster breakdown in just one moment. Before we do, want to make sure that you are subscribed to Seahawks Today. Here it is, the 4th of July. It's a holiday, and we're here bringing you Seahawks news and rumors. No one else is doing that. I'm coming in on a holiday because I love you guys. So, subscribe now, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Turn those notifications on so you never miss an episode and be the first to know what's going on with the Seattle Seahawks. Subscribe now, Seahawks Today, right here on YouTube, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. The weakness, the quarterback position. Whether Drew Lock is 40th in the league or 32nd or Geno Smith up there, nonetheless, it is a weakness in one of the worst quarterback rooms in the league. No disputing that. Here's what Lindsey had to say. A quarterback competition between Drew Lock and Geno Smith isn't where any team wants to be entering a season. Yikes. Smith didn't look completely out of place when he had to fill in for Wilson last season. He was PFF's 12th highest graded quarterback from week 6 to 8 and averaged 7.3 yards per attempt across those 3 weeks, 12th out of 32 qualifiers. His familiarity with the offense could give him a leg up on Lock, even though it seems as if Lock wasn't merely a throw-in in the Wilson trade. There's a very small chance that either is Seattle's starting quarterback at this time next season. So, not so kind words on the quarterback position, but I can't say that I disagree necessarily. Now, looking at the final breakdown for the Seahawks, according to PFF and ESPN, was the edge position. The edge rushers are the X factor, and here's why. The Seahawks are going to need one of their young edge rushers to take a leap this season because their most experienced player at the position, free agent acquisition Uchenna Nwosu, has a career PFF pass rushing grade of just 67.3. Darrell Taylor is one of the more likely players to step up to that challenge. The former Tennessee Volunteer missed his rookie season in 2020 with an injury, but he recorded 36 quarterback pressures in a rotational role last year. So, with that being said, look, it is hard to disagree. And here's what I would look at, folks. This is why I don't think you should necessarily get upset. ESPN and Pro Football Focus have to deal with what they're given, what they've seen so far. Look, I think the Seahawks are going to be better than the 29th best roster in the league this year, but a lot of it comes down to proving what's ahead. All these rankings are, what have you done for me lately? What have you done in the past? It's not projecting what is going to happen. And I think you're going to see guys take big steps forward. Your Charles Crosses, Boy Maffe's, Jordan Brooks, I think, is going to take a big step. But with that being said, you have to look at what you've done so far. And, I mean, to put it simply, this team is unproven. Okay? I mean, there's no beating around the bush. It is unproven. It is hard to disagree. So, to break that down one more time, to go over those things, strength wide receiver, weakness quarterback, X factor edge. Very good points there from Pro Football Focus. So, with that said, before we go, if you made it to the end of today's video, hit the like button. We would love if you showed us some love here on the show, and hope you have a great rest of your 4th of July weekend. America!